All right.
Hold on. Yep, you're good.
This is my Captain Beef Hardbow, made of the bone that we found. Thank you for giving me those horse bones. So basically, the first time I heard about Greg was around 2004, and his band, the Gree. And when I heard it, I wanted to be a part of the band. And the only other bands that were like that were probably the Spits, the Black Lips, Jay Retard, and whatever other people were around. Demon's Claws, you know. But for me, it was more about your recording abilities. Like, what did you record the first Gree on?
It was a reel-to-reel half-inch, eight track tape machine.
Okay, not the ones that we're using now.
Yeah, but it's essentially the same fidelity, because this one is 16 tracks using 1-inch tape, and that was 8 tracks using a half-inch.
Okay, okay, cool.
So it's just, yeah.
So it's the same tape size.
Yeah, exactly. The tracks are taking up the same width on the tape as both machines or whatever.
So, I mean, what I've noticed is that when we've done like about half the album right now, and we basically just, what we feel like switching instruments, whenever we feel like switching instruments, we switch. And then we add, he'll do all the guitar, the classical guitar, piano, and that kind of stuff. And I usually just stick to bass and sitar and maybe some drums. But yeah, would you say that the Gree concept was something did you share the vision with Oscar, or like how did that whole thing come about? Why did you call it Gree?
Because of the Dr. John record.
Okay, I love that Dr. John record as well.
Yeah, I wanted to call the Mirrors that, but nobody in the band thought that was a good idea. So
maybe they thought it was too hippie.
I had the name. No, they just thought it was weird, and then they called me Gree because my name's Greg. Gregory.
I used to call you Gashley.
Yeah. Some people call me Grashley.
Well, so I remember you telling me
that's a little nicer than Gashley.
The Mirrors, you wanted to be Sonic Youth meets Rolling Stones. So like, and I guess Gree obviously had the Dr. John influence. So I guess we share this common thing about like non-conventional drums, for example. We're kind of bored of the standard kit.
Yeah, we haven't used any drums on this recording, just cymbals.
Cymbals, and also just my water can from 1949.
But yeah, I mean, we haven't used any traditional drums.
Right, exactly. And mostly because we're both very untalented at drums. But
I'm just bored of drums, so we use that electronic percussion kit.
You're making a psychedelic record.
Yeah, and I mean, my favorite country records, for example, are the Waylon Jennings thing, where it sounds like butter tubs. It doesn't sound like, floor tom and all that kind of stuff. So, okay, basically, who's your favorite classical composer?
Beethoven.
Beethoven, okay.
Yeah. Not everybody's?
Yeah. Mine is his name is Alfred Schnittke. And he does kind of like horror movie music that's very dissonant and strange. I got to see it live in my first time of seeing an orchestra.
Yeah.
So I was kind of, and I was headbanging, and they told me at the intermission, they were like, "Please don't move so much. You're distracting the players." Yeah. But I did finally realize though that the players, they're really big party machines. They drink a lot of alcohol and cocaine. Like, I guess because they don't have to write anything, so like they're just reading sheet music, right?
Well, it's not easy though.
Most
people
play
hard instruments.
I mean, I know a theremin player who can't, even drink a glass of wine before she goes on because she shivers too much.
I wonder with orchestras, like, because they don't play that many shows a year when you look at the schedule of a symphony. Are they doing like work, like, are they like recording like, for albums and like movies?
I don't even think they do that because of the AI and also because of the MIDI stuff. You can do an orchestra so easily without any people, I had a woman named Jillian Rivers who worked with Yoko Ono and stuff, and she was my one-woman orchestra. She would like send me 40 tracks of like viola and violin and different tones and harmonies and all this stuff. So there's definitely people out there who know the old school way of doing that kind of string arrangement. But anyways, with me and you, I feel like, okay, so I would say it's East meets West, but I'm very Western. I'm born and raised in Turtle Island, so I'm not like a fucking red dotted guy who washes his feet in a fucking bucket of shit, meaning an Indian from India. But you are that kind of... No, but sorry. Okay, would you call our music classical music?
I think what we're making is like a really weird version of boleros, you know, like Spanish like romantic like songs. It was almost like pop music, it's like early forms of pop music.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
I think I played you a record of it like a few days ago.
The skater guy?
Bolero. No, it was actual bolero record.
Okay, right.
Boleros, solamente boleros.
Well, Ellis had an idea of calling the song Bach Swine. Like BACH swine, but based on your handicap, the old box wine. But
God, you always take shots with the fucking.
Sorry. Okay, I have problems too, you know. Okay, so yeah, our approach is unconventional. Is there something that you have?
I just want to touch on like you say that it's got like a pop element, and that's true, but like it's definitely got like some psychedelic, like it's.
So I mean, really weird boleros.
Yeah, like weird,
weird little
psychedelic spin on
like little journeys, you know, through sound.
Everything you guys have done before, plus sitar, plus bolero.
And also, we're not doing 2-minute songs. They're usually 4 to 7 minutes.
Oh.
You know, so they're pretty long. And I like the way we work though. Is like if I start with a bass line, you know, we'll record maybe 5 minutes, you know, with Greg on the trash kit, and then he'll edit it, you know, and within the 5 minutes I'll have done like 5 bass lines that I don't even know, but I'm switching from minor to major, but then he'll dissect it in a way, and then I'll be able to really nail it when we do it. You know, he makes me. This is what I love about him, and this is what people don't do in modern recording. He makes you play the whole song and learn it 10, 20, 50 times before you record it. And that you don't record it just stopping and you know, overdubbing. You know, he wants the whole process recorded. So this is why I feel like bands are going to be afraid to come here, because they're just not good enough. They're not like the Beatles playing every fucking afternoon and evening and a night shift, you know, and getting so tight that like they couldn't make any mistakes in the studio. So
there's a lot of trickery I could still do with that tape machine.
Yeah, well, that's what I love too, is that you make it, you get
the best of both worlds.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, definitely. I mean,
because I can like, if you heard my records, they're just like nonsensical fucking jams that then I go back and fix. But it's like
turn them into music. Yeah,
you're right. It's the equivalent of like trying a skate trick and landing it one time and filming it and putting it in a video part. You know what I'm saying? Whereas you could go to the park and practice that trick a million fucking times and have it. So there's like skating boarding and then there's like trick boarding. Mm-hmm. And he's more of the like bottling lightning. You're more of the tested method.
Yeah, that's a cool
well,
way
you got
of
to
putting
turn
it.
his fucking around into music, you know what I mean?
Right.
Or my fucking around into music, you know. But
well, I think
some of it I've actually sat down and written parts for, you know.
Well, one thing I've noticed.
Some of it.
I saw. Did you make him write those tablatures out on the sitar?
No, I did that.
Yeah,
I've been doing that for 2 years. I've been doing that for 2 years, and it's like the stuff that I've learned from the sitar. Although I only took a year of lessons, but like, you know, what he taught me was basically it's up to me to do the repetitions of the scales. And that's what he makes me do, is like when we have a part, you know, I might have written the bass line, but he writes the piano and the guitar, and then he'll write the melody that the sitar should be kind of aping, but also like enhancing, you know, with the harmony and disharmony. So like he's really the commander in chief, and I'm just like, you know, like number one, you know, like the.
Would you say it's a role reversal for you?
Yes, I would say that, because I mean, normally I would be setting up mics and doing all that kind of stuff. And I actually love the way that he's doing it, because it's like when I got rich momentarily with TikTok, I bought like the Coles mics, you know, the Elephant Dick mic, the Electro Voice stuff, you know, like things that I really wanted, you know, and then look at me now. I have nothing to my name. I have no home. I just have a bunch of paintings that I do and like walk around with, and a sitar. So what good are those microphones just sitting in Germany? You know, I'm going to give them to my daughters, obviously. But no, but before doing this, I talked to Liam Watson, how I told you about, who was the producer of my first album and the Elephant album by White Stripes. Mm-hmm. And that guy was like really celebrated as being like the garage guy in England. And also Spanish people loved him. And he had, you know, everything like Abbey Road stuff, and like he made his own board and blah, blah, blah. So he's now been elevated to the level of, he's making the studio that Regent Sound Studios is in London, which is where Black Sabbath recorded the first 2 albums. So he's retransforming that old studio into like a modern old place, you know. And like when I was in Kenya and my whole dream about my boat, I knew right away I only want to use SM57s and SM58s because of the salt water, you know. It's dangerous in the air. It'll destroy any kind of good microphone, you know.
Okay.
So this is what he mostly uses as well, you know. And like, let's talk about the electrification of the sitar. So like, you immediately knew what to do with the sitar.
Yeah, because I'd done it to acoustic guitars a bunch of times.
Yeah, and I can tell you that I've never had a better sound from the sitar than what you did, because, I mean, those piezo things are so common in life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're in lots of things.
Yeah, so it's like, I feel like one thing that, one of the reasons also people don't know enough about us, well, obviously you keep secretive about things, but like, ever since I've known you, you've been making microphones for like, you know, $2. You know, you get the parts,
The element,
you put them together, and they look like bombs.
Take us through that. Microphone.
Well, I've never built one.
Well, you
No,
built the condenser one that you gave me.
No, I didn't. My friend Bob built that
Oh,
one.
okay.
Yeah,
I thought you did. Okay.
I've only built microphones out of speakers and piezo elements. Yeah.
Right, but that itself is very amazing because you're reversing the role of a speaker and making it a receiver rather
Right.
than...
Yeah. Yeah. The thing with microphone elements, I'm not exactly sure. I'm trying to remember what all was in that, because he put it in an Altoids case, and then he had like a pen sticking out of it that had the element
Yes.
suspended on like the wires, just like sitting there.
Yeah. It looked really
Sounded
like a bomb.
good. Sounded good for an overhead mic on drums and stuff like that. But
Yeah,
I
I mean,
don't know exactly how he did it. It
You
had some
literally,
transits,
he
some
made it
bullshit
for
in
like,
there. I don't know.
He made it for like less than $5.
Probably. Yeah.
You know, my dream is like, you know, when Kraftwerk, like in 1973 or something like that, they gave all their equipment, their drum machines and all that stuff to black kids in New York. I think there's a video of it at a live show. So like, I'm hoping that people will watch this and be like, oh wow, I don't have to buy a $500 condenser microphone. I can just like do what Greg Ashley suggested and get some guy to fucking fiddle with it. And I will say the Moon Music people seem like the really right people to like ask about electronic kind of stuff too, because I mean, if you can take any speaker and just flip the wires and make it into a microphone, then what the fuck? Why are we even making these stupid headphones that are disposable? You know,
Well,
and
the
like,
first podcast I ever did, I did Wu-Tang mic.
yeah, with the
I just put a guitar amplifier in front of, underneath the camera.
right.
Did it like a boom mic, like just set a pair of headphones plugged into the amplifier on the desk.
Yeah.
Amplified it into the room, and then it recorded it into the condenser mic on the camera.
Yeah, that's amazing. And like, yeah, again, I don't think there's any need to
Work
buy
within your
new
limitations,
things.
and you
Yeah.
get something unique.
Yeah, and the
cool.
limitations exactly what we're talking
Now,
about. It's
one
like,
thing I wanted to touch
yeah.
on real quick is I hope they pick me up, but
yeah, I can see it.
I've always thought my first few albums were completely instrumental, no words, and I felt like I got the concept from a bad acid trip that I had, because I had no guidance. I didn't know what to expect from the acid trip. So if we're talking psychedelica, let's talk psychedelic drugs. And if you don't know what you're going through and you have like a remarkable trip and no one's guiding you, you don't even know what to expect because you've never done it before, I'd say that instrumental music is probably the most psychedelic music that there is.
Yeah, because you put your own words.
There's
You
no
put,
language.
or you put your own
or you
words.
listen to something in a language you don't understand, and then
Yeah.
it's just like instrumental music.
Even better. I tripped out one time on mushrooms to a Santana song in Spanish. I don't speak Spanish,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, well, for example, I love he does a lot of songs in Portuguese and
Yeah,
Spanish.
I don't know Portuguese. That's why I love listening to that music, because I don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, but you pronounce it quite well.
I don't know. I guess no, I don't think so.
Well, I think it's great. I think it's great that a white man is trying to pronounce like another language and making it. I find it more romantic that he's trying to do it rather than him trying to ape it and like master like a fake accent or whatever.
have you ever taken
That would be
drugs and
weird.
tried to not understand a language you do understand? I have. Yeah. You want to talk about mindfulness?
Taking drugs to not
I
understand
would
language.
sit at the bar on acid and try to not understand English, to just like disassociate my understanding of the language and just hear it as noises. Like,
I'd like to put a translator on this so that like when people talk to it in any language, it just talks in English. You know those little boxes they have now. You know, so like it's like literally you can ask it any question and I'll be able to answer it in any language. And then this guy is just like oh shit.
Yeah,
Shit.
don't knock out the teeth.
Oh yeah, the teeth are loose. But, oh no.
I saw something like a behind the scenes thing with the Black Lips where Cole was putting a fucking microphone into like a replica of a human skull.
Yeah, he wanted to put a bong in Jimi Hendrix's skull.
Have you thought about doing anything like with that? Like
A bong?
or like a microphone in there, or like turn that into a microphone? for the show?
Well, we could put a piezo pickup in it, but there's no point because it's not. It doesn't sound great.
With the skull?
Yeah, I mean, it might.
Yeah.
What if you did something
you
like
tap on it? And,
like the Altoid can microphone, but you rigged it up in this and just set it as like a room recorder out of an amplifier while you're playing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
don't have that microphone anymore.
I mean, you know what?
Unless you have it.
No, but
have it, right?
sometimes I feel like we're some things are funny to do. But for example, like literally, if we put a piezo on this will sound like a very deep bass. Like,
really?
Yeah. And then like even that when we were putting the stethoscope on it, you could hear the vibrations of it. And like this bone is a really beautiful thing to conduct music or things, And also the other thing that I made, which is a bow, same thing. It's got like the dead horsehair, which needs resin, which I'm gonna be really fun when we go to Moon Music or whatever and show them that stuff. Then they'll be pretty impressed, I think. But so back to music stuff. I mean, is there sorry?
Let's talk about the personal relationship of recording and living together. I'm interested because I had to spend a couple days locked into a fucking
room with me.
Into a room with you.
Yeah.
Around you 24 hours a day. I'm just curious. Like, I'm not trying to pry anything out of you. If you guys are getting along great.
We're getting along great, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, when he tells me to scram, I scram. Cool. And I have no problems with him being grumpy because he's doing great work. So, I mean, being grumpy is a part of the fucking process, Like, for me, I like to record hungover, really? Because then you don't have to think, But
recorded more farts of this guy than Greg talking.
Sorry, it was the bad Simon. Leslie Nielsen was.
I don't know. I'm just trying to get maybe see if there was like a Metallica, some kind of monster element going on here. I think everybody wants to know.
I'll say one thing. Okay, one thing is my dad was a professor of math, and he tripped out when we were really young because he would teach me algebra concepts or calculus concepts when I was a little kid. And I would hate it because I didn't want to learn this stuff. And he would slap me and beat me and make me learn it and then be like, look at my kid, he's so smart, And so for me, academia is my enemy. Like, I fucking hate academics. I know that Asian people especially are always hiding in the universities, PhD after PhD, Like, you take this guy's fucking sound knowledge and you can trump any fucking bullshit guy who goes to a sound engineering school to learn anything, Like, Greg Ashley is the kind of guy that can you could record any music, any African band that has no idea what microphones to use and all that stuff. He just uses the simplest stuff, Keep it simple, stupid. Like, that's what the real recipe to this rock and roll is. And
and you picked that all up on your own, just tinkering.
Yeah, just bought the equipment and kind of taught myself how to use it, and then got pointers from friends or reading things.
And so your background now, like he's saying with his pops being an academic, I'm assuming because you have a farm, your pops was probably like a handyman. Ran cattle, he's
a real man.
He was a systems analyst at NASA, so he was a math professor in Northern Arizona, but he also did lots of construction stuff when he was in college, and he worked for the Forest Service in Northern Arizona. And so he could, and his family didn't have all that much money. He was born in 1940, so coming out of the Depression and stuff, it's just and his dad was an electrician, and it's just, I think it was kind of when he, was old enough to drive, it's like, you want a car, you got to go get an old fucked up car and learn how to turn it into one that runs, and that's what he did. So he learned how to fix anything on a car, And
he imparted that upon you.
Yeah, I mean, when I was a little kid, I was forced to because he pretty much, we had the house I grew up in, was in kind of a suburban neighborhood, but an old one, and we had another lot that was behind the lot we had, which had a garage on it, which my dad worked on, all his vehicles and trucks and whatnot in. And so when I was a kid, I had to go out there and, just kind of hang out and watch him and stuff. And I hated it. And I tried not to learn anything.
That's kind of what I wanted to get at. Because my pops my punishment when I was grounded was hanging out in the garage, handing him tools.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so,
my dad didn't even want to do that.
Had to force academia on him. Did your dad have to force man shit on you? We're going to re-shingle the house today.
Yeah, I had to help with everything and all that stuff.
Well, that's great, though, man.
No, it was good because in the end, though I didn't want to learn it, I still picked up a lot of it, especially the more construction stuff.
Because you learn that, with working with junk instruments or making junk into instruments, you learn that the solution isn't go to the music store and buy a new tube.
Right.
It's fix the tube you got. If the starter on your car is broken, stop, slow down, take the fucker apart.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, same kind of thing. Yeah, when I started getting into music, it was like, yeah, I saw my dad do all this stuff on cars.
I do it with
like,
art.
yeah, I can take
I'm more
parts
creative.
from
My
around.
dad's like a backyard mechanic, but when I run into a problem with art, I don't go to the.
Would you
if
say
I
you're-
need to make ink? I take the fingernail polish,
Right.
and mix it with paint thinner and make an ink.
Yeah.
And I'll go to the art store to get it.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And like, exactly, like for me, I've been traveling around with this bag of just like, markers, and people, wonder where I get them, and sometimes I have to steal them, and sometimes people just give me stuff, like, so, you want one?
Hey, can I put one of your
Yeah,
cigarettes?
yeah.
You don't like the Mohawk one? Hey, wait, man.
They're pretty hard, man. They're reminiscent of
Let's all have a little smoke, shall we?
Smoke.
Where's the?
I think there's some good sound bites in here, though. You guys have both said some good stuff.
Yeah, and I
don't know
think
if that's the end all be all of it, but
no, but I think you're
just to
doing.
make a well-rounded thing to play.
You're
to kind
doing
of
a splendid
explain
job.
to people what they're about to see. That's the way. That's you
Yeah.
know. 'Cause,
Yeah.
like, what's the point in making like, oh, we're gonna make a real documentary and put it on YouTube that no one's gonna fucking watch,
Yeah.
like, or no one's gonna rent on Amazon.
Yeah.
But if you have a captive audience, then we need to structure this thing
Yeah.
towards like we're giving you the like that acid trip I was saying. I didn't have a guide. I didn't have anything to expect.
Yeah.
I just had to experience the drugs on their own.
Yeah.
I feel like it could end up shitting the bed if you just gave them the Greg Ashley King Khan experience.
Yeah.
But we have the opportunity to show a film to explain how it came together, like why it's unique,
Yeah.
especially like when they see that fucking drum kit.
Well, yeah. I mean, look. I mean, you got Mark Smothersbaugh, for example, right? Now, I don't know if it was the real Mark Smothersbaugh or not, who's contacted me and sent me 20,000 Bitcoin, but whatever. Mark Mothersbaugh for me is like someone that from Cleveland who like made toys into like amazing musical things that you hear in the Thor soundtrack or who knows what you hear them in, and I think that. He's one person, for example, that like fully went into recording and doing movie soundtracks, and I think that's the work that me and Greg are really cut out for, and I hope that this is a bridge to that world because I love the Safdie brothers because they use these synthesizers which are easy to get. You can buy a synthesizer for very cheap, but they use it in such a beautiful way that it becomes a signature style. And I think with me and Greg, we don't have a signature style. Like if a movie maker came up to us and was like, hey, I want to emulate Dr. John Grigri record, then we're like, yeah, we got that for you. And in this sense, when the native people talk to me about time walkers, this is why I think that we're both time walkers, is because from the get-go, like I said, we can emulate any time frame in sound. So like if you wanted to sound like a raggedy blues guy from 1920, we just use one microphone and or an old like harmonica mic or whatever, so it's like the tools are there, the things
I'll
are
give
there.
you an example of why I'm
You have a light.
impressed and intrigued. And I haven't been here for the whole recording process. I'm talking a little louder to get the mics to pick me
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
But okay, for a song, that one that I played you, the Roach song that you said sounds like German industrial.
Yeah.
For the intro, what you can't hear is it builds like suspense going into the song because in
Right.
the background, while I was recording, my tea kettle was going off.
Right.
So I was like, I heard that, and I was like, let me start this over. I cooled the fucking water back down, like put new water in, and then
Yeah.
recorded the entire buildup of the tea kettle
Yeah.
going, and then it goes into the song.
Cool.
So
Yeah, that's wonderful.
I feel like there's a huge, like a major, a much more professional, approach to that.
Yeah.
Like, professional amateurism on a whole different, because you're a Billy Childish fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah.
You're
In
a-
fact, I think that Billy
Matter of
Childish.
fact, we should talk a little bit about his books. Do you want to?
Sure.
Do you have anything you'd like to say about it? Because I haven't really read it. I like them so far, but I haven't.
I'll just say that I'm happy I'm not in them.
Are they that bad? It's like bad,
Well,
dirty stories.
I mean,
dude, that's fucking you're burning dead horse hair.
yeah.
Stop,
Okay,
dude.
sorry.
Oh,
Sorry.
can you think of a worse fucking smell? God damn. Let's go.
Okay, about Billy Childish. What I met him when I was 17, and he looked at my hipster, shitty turned fruit writer, Adam Goldner, our guitar player, who stole records from us and sold them to some fucking record collector while we were on tour and pocketed the money.
Tangent.
He's a fucking piece of shit. Anyways,
asked you about your books and he's telling
no, but no. I'm just sorry. I'm sorry. Anyways,
hold on.
No, okay.
Pause. Tell us about your books, Greg. It's Anecdotes by Greg Ashley.
Yeah, so that one is kind of like a bunch of just funny stories that I would tell to people in the bar or something like that all the time. And so when I wrote them down, I'd been through them a bunch of times, like it's kind of like everybody's always doing their material on you, when you're like, especially you're a place like a bar,
Yeah.
And so, there's just, funny stories. And if you read it in order, there's a story there, the whole thing. And then the other one is kind of like a novella. Fictionalized things that happen to me, and then just some things that are just fiction.
Love it. Yeah.
What I was going to say about books.
How can they get them?
You can find me on Instagram or Facebook. And
What's your Insta?
I don't know.
Greg
It's Creamery Studio is my Instagram handle, I guess.
Creamery Studio. Because I'm going on a podcast next month, and I want to talk about. I'm just going to mention you and how they can get your books. Because
Cool.
I've only read probably like 150 words.
Yeah.
Between both of your books, and
Right.
you're already like my favorite author. And I would say favorite, not to blow smoke up your ass, but because it's like the old shit that I like Bukowski, Burroughs,
Yeah.
and everything. But you're alive, and I've met you.
Yeah,
so it's like
you can
automatically,
visualize.
it's
You
already
can
better.
visualize him. Like being homeless in Detroit on his own property.
Riding around Oakland on a bike to buy a pack of cigarettes, and then going on the prowl for crack. Like,
Yeah.
love it.
I think, I kind of think of them as like David Sedaris books, but with
Yeah, I like-
more drugs and,
Yeah.
rock and roll, I guess.
Who's
I
David
don't know.
Sedaris?
He's the
Amy Sedaris'
comedian,
brother.
author,
Yeah.
He's written a bunch of books and stuff.
What
They're funny.
I wanted to bridge with Billy Childish was that when I met him, so I didn't know he did poetry and stuff, and like Billy Childish kind of was a taste changer for me at least sometimes, because like when he started doing Jimi Hendrix covers of like Hey Joe and stuff and doing a fuzz pedal on stage, like I was like really impressed because Jimi Hendrix was usually what hippies listen to, and I've just loved Jimi Hendrix the whole time. But then when his son was born, which was around the same year that my daughter was born, or if maybe she was born a few years later, but he sent me a book, his poetry book, a Huddy poetry book. And so I was like, oh wow, he like self-publishes his own book, and he really like screen prints them and everything by hand.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so like, again, that's a hero that you're like, oh wow, he's not just a rock and roll guy. He's like someone who.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop you there because that's a perfect example of the concept. If I think of Billy Childish, I think of the phrase professional amateurism.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think that is the. People ask me all the time. People don't listen to garage rock. It's not necessarily a sound.
Wait,
Right?
his phone is going.
No, I'll just hang on.
No, on the microphone's in.
I gotta hit it in like 10 minutes.
Oh, to pick up
that's fine.
Betty?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
We've got a lot already, but
fuck.
so let's finish it with that. Then.
Yeah.
These are coming.
Let's talk about professional amateurism. What it means to you.
Okay.
How it's come up. Maybe just some examples. And I think that's the defining thing that makes a garage band a garage band.
Right.
Garage rock. It's not a sound. If you say that this is a garage rock, this band doesn't sound like this band.
Cheers. I see what you mean, but I wouldn't call it amateurism because amateurism to me.
Professional amateurism.
I know, but we're not professionally trying to sound dumb. Amateur
Okay,
for me is
professional
dumb.
amateurism.
I think
He
he's
has-
talking about it from the other angle. It's like I guess you're. It's like the thing about like being an artist or something like that. You can't really learn how to do it. You can learn the skills to apply it to become that, and you can learn them by like, especially nowadays. You can learn things on YouTube or the internet or whatever. You can pick up the skills to make your art in whichever way you do, or you can go to a traditional school and pick up those skills there.
Yeah.
Right. That's what you're talking about, professional.
Essentially,
amateurism.
I would say, like, if I were going to give you an example, is you're an analog recording master, but you use a set of drums that are made out of garbage. Professional amateurism.
I like it. I like it. I think, and I think there's also the DIY perspective that
But I
is
think
very
it's beautiful that you guys are making this, like, it's psychedelic, it's classical music,
It's pop.
it's made professionally
Yeah.
with a completely amateur approach, because
Yeah. Well,
it's outside of both of your...
I think it's really honorable if we show up at a gig and we have like just small practice amps and bones and a sitar and a nylon string guitar, and we make something that's so orchestral and so moving that, like for me, the greatest compliment I ever got about my music was when, I had a family whose mom was suffering with cancer, and they came to a shrine show in London, and they were like, we listened to your song, like one song in particular, what is it called? something about protection. I can't remember. Anyways, they said that they listened to the song over and over again, and that it gave them hope every day. And so, like, when they came to my show, they said that they were smiling for 6 months after because they always remembered that, you know. And this is kind of why I fall in love with every lady that I have a good, funny time with, because it multiplies in my mind as, like, you know. And with Greg, like, I've never had a fight with him. I've seen him a little bit too drunk, but like, he's not a violent person, you know, like. No, but like, you know, that's another thing, is that when you have egos that are, you know, competing with each other, you know, or like when you have people, one person is kind of getting all the credit, you know. I think that was essentially the problem between me and Barbecue, was I was always the showman and he was the guy with the backbeat, you know, and then holding it down. So like, he got jealous whenever we show up to a town, everyone wanted to talk to me and not him. But he's also the guy who tells people to fuck off in interviews, so people don't want to talk to him.
Don't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah, and then again, and like, now he's rich and he's sitting.
So this is almost a perfect union of Greg's like the mad scientist, like, I just want to go over here and work on this, and you're like, bleh!
Well, he also sees the possibility that working with me, there is a possibility. Who knows, that TikTok might pick up one of the songs, or I mean, right now we have an African rapper who is being produced by Don Letts from London, who's like reggae DJ for the Clash and all this stuff, and like, you know, one of the also the tastemakers of London's punk scene, you know, the black man from Jamaica who, like, you know, brought. I wonder if Bad Brains had something like, I don't know if they have a connection with Don Letts, but in any case, I'm very happy to work with you. You're my brother. I have your back. I listen to you.
It's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah, and I think that it's something that we can do every year.
All right.